Morning everyone. Welcome to the Lifestyle Committee. My name's Councillor Tony Hall. I'd like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging our traditional custodians of the land on which we gathered and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 17th of August 2023. I declare this meeting open at 9 a.m. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. I'd like to check any attendances and leaves of absence. I believe we have Councillor Lane and Councillor Kerensky have submitted a leave of absence, but I believe we have Councillor Lane Skyping in. Yep, that's correct. Okay, but I believe, do we still have Councillor Kerensky? She's submitted a leave of absence. Yeah. Only Councillor Kerensky? Okay. Okay, I'll have Councillor Murphy move the motion for Councillor Kerensky's leave of absence. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, I'm just having a... Councillor Bradley has seconded. All those in favour? That's been carried unanimously. Before we begin, I'd like to now refer to declarations of conflicts of interests. Do any councillors here wish to declare a conflict of interest against any of today's reports? There being none, we'll continue. I'll now refer to the reports on today's agenda. We'll begin with item 5.1, Logan City Council's Arts, Culture and Heritage Plan 2023-2027. This is a public report under the directorate of Mr. Brad Wright. The presenting manager is Mrs. Annette Turner from the Libraries and Creative Industries Manager.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. It's our pleasure to be here this morning to present the community feedback that was received as part of the draft Arts, Culture and Heritage Plan 2023 to 2027, to share some of the inclusions which came from that community engagement process and to adopt the plan. I'm joined today by Naomi Sands. Naomi is our Creative Industries Program Leader, and she's going to actually share the detail of the plan. So thanks.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, councillors. It's so exciting to be here again today to be presenting this exciting report plan for the community. The community feedback from the consultation period was overwhelmingly positive, which is always such a wonderful thing, and has been reflected in the updated document and the feedback that you've got in the report today. We also got some feedback from the executive leadership team, which has transformed the name of the strategy to a plan. The community feedback has been documented in the report and provides a really great foundation to the development of a suite of programs that will really address the outcomes over the next 4 years. And these, we're going to do some additional programs to support our annual programs of cultural activities that we deliver across all council branches. Today I'm excited to present an overview of some of the activities to demonstrate each of the 5 outcomes within the Logan City Council Arts, Culture and Heritage Plan for 2023 to 2027. And it has been really exciting, I must say, to develop some programs, just to give some examples. So as part of outcome 1, which is develop and build, some examples to demonstrate this would be, we're going to continue to present lifelong learning programs and workshops across Logan City Libraries, Logan Art Gallery, and target all programs to really look at ages from youth, seniors and children. So some examples would be the First Five Forever program, school holiday programs and Crank. And we'd like to investigate new opportunities to present programs across the city. We are going to present a series of skill development workshops and networking opportunities for community museums and heritage organisations through the new Heritage Leaders bi-monthly meeting. This includes workshops around collection management, digitisation, significance, and looking at the museum standards program. This is really exciting because it's a really great way to support our local heritage and really continue sharing our local stories. The team is currently working on a number of new identified public art opportunities for First Nations artists, and we're looking at some digital projection exhibitions and other opportunities across the city. And I think it's really exciting that we can actually deliver some sort of new technology in our public art. So that's really exciting. I can't wait to share these with you when we actually have them ready. So for outcome 2, which is inspire and engage. An example is we're developing a pilot exhibition concept which will be displayed across multi-venues across the city to celebrate our vibrant and diverse creativity of the region. If successful, this exhibition would be presented every 2 years. Now, this is a super exciting project, and I think we can really engage our whole community in creativity, and I can't wait to see what this might result in. Another project would be looking at some audience development and sector development research, really to underpin all of our programs. So that research will help us develop new projects to take us into the future. So with outcome 3, activate places and spaces, we're currently researching opportunities to be part of existing citywide Logan events to showcase local creatives through pop-up displays, pop-up workshops and pop-up music performances. So this would be stalls at events like Eats and Beats, Seniors Big Day Out, the Flame Festival, Imagination Leaf Festival, and any other like really great activities that are across the city. We're really keen to get to all of our divisions to really share that creativity and support our local artists. There is a planned increase of public program delivery and events at our Living Museum of Logan, including, which I'm super excited about, a family activity brochure that features the artists that are in the public art to really engage families and visitors on that site. So I can't wait to see that as well. We're collaborating with our placemaking team and other teams to integrate community and public art across the city, including a number of mural projects, and we are working with at the Bingley Aquatic Centre upgrade. So again, some really exciting projects that we're helping to support our creatives. Outcome 4, which is partnership and collaborate. We're currently collaborating with Queensland Health to continue to facilitate public art and displays in Logan Hospital, and I think that's going to be really great once we get to do more work in there. And we're also working with them on the family and community place at Yarrabilba. So there's some really great sort of health outcomes, and I know arts and culture can really, promote really great health outcomes, so that's really exciting. We're currently collaborating with the University of Queensland and Griffith University on a number of projects that involve students from the Logan and Brisbane campuses in the area of public art, public programs and events. And I think one of the really cool things is we're trying to, I guess, promote pathways to that higher education, which is really exciting. We are further developing skills development offering for our local creatives as part of the Logan Arts Network, which is LANE, and the Regional Services Network, in preparation for the Cultural Olympiad. So we are really trying to invest over the next 4 years on really skilling our creatives so that they have the best chance. And that's, again, one of the things I'm really passionate about is providing those kind of skills development. Outcome 5, communicate and celebrate. The Arts and Heritage Trails are about to be updated to reflect our new public artworks across the city. And we are looking at developing additional trails to support cultural tourism across the city. And that, again, is such an exciting thing because those trails are fabulous and they really get people out and about. So that will be great. We're focusing on developing our digital communication reach through continued development of the Logan Arts website and utilising social media to promote arts and cultural activity across the city. We're continuing to work with our First Nations artists to develop new exhibitions for the Living Museum of Logan and Logan Art Gallery and to support First Nations-led storytelling and cultural practice. Again, something I'm really passionate about and really exciting that we're, I can't wait to see what exhibitions that we can present over the next 4 years.
The proposed Logan City Council Arts, Culture and Heritage Plan 2023 to 2027 demonstrates Council's dedication to arts, culture and heritage across the city. The plan is presented to you today for your endorsement.
Thank you. Any of the councillors have any questions? Yeah, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you for remembering my name, Chair. I've just sent you an email, Annette, but I'm happy to move it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So just for the people playing at home, at the beginning you mentioned that you changed it from a strategy to a plan. Well, what is in layman's terms, what is the difference between a strategy and a plan, just so people at home and the people in the room like me who need to know?
Through the chair. They're both strategic documents. It was a decision of ELT. Their forward planning for the city is to have a very limited number of city documents that are called strategies, and all of our other documents that support those are to be called plans. So hence the change.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that description. Okay. Now, I believe we have a slide that needs to be tabled. So can I have a mover for someone to... Yeah. Councillor Stemp has moved. Do I need a seconder for that one? No seconder required. Can I have a show of hands in support just for the slide? Yep, that's supported. Okay, and so the recommendation is that the Logan City Council Arts, Culture and Heritage Plan 2023 be endorsed, and that the Logan City Council Arts, Culture, Heritage Plan 23-27 be made available for public access and viewing. We've had a mover with Councillor Bradley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy has seconded. Can I have a show of hands? That is carried unanimously. Okay. Do any of the councillors have any general business for Mrs. Turner and Mrs. Sands before they leave? No? Okay. Well, I might actually pipe in. On the 28th of July, myself, Councillor Wilcox and the Deputy Mayor attended the premiere at the Logan Art Gallery. We got to see some amazing artworks, one of them including the Pamela Lee's works, which is paperworks and origami, which is called The Pride of Logan. It's just an amazing display, and just, we can really shift your thinking into interpretation of art as well, and, the meanings behind it. There was also a very young artist there, presenter Iman Grashuis. Is that her name? Just this very passionate work that she's done about space, and the connection that she has with her art to her mother who has passed away. It's just amazing to see that, and to see how her artwork has allowed her to kind of form a bridge between herself and her mother. And I really recommend people to go out and see these artworks, because these are Logan artists, and we need to get behind our Logan artists. We also have Conflated, which is a touring show, which is just, incredible work. It's some of the works is about the artwork that was produced during that COVID era, which is, really important to reflect back on. So some amazing stuff happening at our galleries, guys. So I recommend that we go out there and have a look and take advantage of it while it's here. I think it's there until the 2nd of September. Is that right? Yeah, it's just amazing artworks, and I'm very happy to see this happening in my city right now. With that, I'll let you guys go and get on with your busy day. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next we have item 5.2, the Middle Green Park Sports Club operations for roof replacement and facility upgrade. This is a public report. It's under the directorship of Mr. Brad White, and today we're speaking to the Sports and Community Infrastructure Manager, Mr. Ben O'Bree.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And good morning, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, councillors. The report before you today is in response to recommendations 3 and 4 from the previous report from June last year, where we were to undertake an investigation into the existing building roof with consideration for required upgrades ensuring continued compliance with the Disability Discrimination Act and standards. The investigation included an access consultant audit, structural engineering assessment, building certification and a quantity surveyor. In the report there are 4 options for your consideration, 3 options in addition to the one where we just seek to replace the roof under our insurance policy. The investigation has confirmed that the roof replacement works would not trigger a legislative obligation on council to upgrade any other remaining part of the building. Happy to take any questions.
Do any councillors have any questions? Councillor Bannon.
Thank you, through the chair. I mean, I've obviously read it, the roof and the toilets. I think we have to do the toilet. The toilets aren't code accessible, and I've got residents from my division that complain about the toilets. There's no wheelchair access. They're pretty ordinary. I think it'd be it's debating where the money comes from is one thing, but we need to fix the toilet. If we have construction, they're fixing the roof, and then do these ones to the toilets that aren't even code accessible. I think it's pretty average and would be pretty average. I look for council. Because I know the people that live in Munrooban that go there would be saying, mate, you were there doing work and you haven't even fixed the toilets. Those toilets have never been code accessible, so I think we could debate here probably where the money should come from, but I think that it's madness not to do the toilets while we're there working on the building. I don't think the whole thing needs a refurb, but the toilets have to be sorted. I know if there's something not code accessible in my division, I want that thing fixed. I don't know when Councillor Wilcox sits on that, but I think it's madness not to do the toilets, so I'd like to debate that, and that's the option I'd be going for. I know it's out of budget money, and it depends on what the council wants to do with her money as well, but you can't not do the toilets.
Option 4, he's saying.
Councillor Bannon, did you have a question for Mr. Ben O'Brien?
Sort of question, Chair. I want to vote for option 4 because I'm guessing councils want to debate on the funds because I think it's $1 million, but I just don't think it's for a council's look to go into a well-used sporting hub and not fix the toilets. I think that's a bit mad, especially when the mayor's push and my push has been to fix all the community sporting clubs up to standards. The toilets aren't code accessible. They're not. Like, how do we not fix that?
Mr. Ben O'Brien, do we have any projected estimates that we can talk about in terms of how much it would cost to actually refurb the toilets? Oh, sorry.
In there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The option that Councillor Bannon is referring to is option 4 in the report, where we've identified, in addition to replacing the roof, where we'd have a $50,000 excess as part of our insurance policy or premium, the cost to upgrade the toilets to meet the current day standards, and ultimately then the access to those toilets, which would be compliant too, would be approximately $780,000 as an estimate at this point in time. And that doesn't include then upgrading all other parts of the building that were identified in the access order. It's just related to the amenities and the accessibility of those amenities.
Okay, so the preferred motion that council's suggesting brings a cost of $50K, but within the report it explains that it will bring it up to $780K. So there's a fair discrepancy between there in terms of how much would need to be spent. I have Councillor Bradley first, and then I'll have Councillor Lane.
Thank you, through the chair. Ben, I'm just curious, how many other buildings in the city would not be up to code accessible for disability access? I just know that there have been a number in Division 1, and the clubs have actually applied for funding through the Gambling Benefit Fund, etc. I'm just curious, how many others in the city would be like that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Bradley. I don't know exactly how many others. I can say that we have over 200 buildings in our stock and about $500 million worth of assets. In our current form, in our current budget, and like most councils, it's not viable or feasible for council to be upgrading all its facilities to meet current legislative obligations, especially around this at all times. And that's why the legislation is written so that we're not expected to have to upgrade this as and when those obligations or legislative requirements do change. I would hazard a guess, though, given the age of this legislation and then the age of a lot of our stock or a lot of our buildings, that there would be at least half of our buildings that there would be something that may not that comply. Now, whether that's in the audit report, you've seen the items that have been identified as red as major structural impacts to the building versus the orange, which would be sort of the minor works. But there, yeah, it would be a significant number of our buildings that currently wouldn't meet current day standards, although they would have been built to standard and code at the time of construction.
Thank you, and that was my understanding as well, being here a while. The other thing I was going to ask, can LIP funding contribute to this?
Local infrastructure program funding is an available funding source for these types of works, along with other funding sources, yes.
Councillor Lane.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Lane. Happy to look into what was discussed with Parks and options at this site. However, I would note, though, these toilets are part of the actual building itself, and it's a bit more than just a clubhouse facility. So the upgrades that identified in option 4 would actually change somewhat the form or structure of the building, because it is a significant upgrade from I think it was 1 male toilet, 1 urinal, and 2 female toilets to what's identified in here. So it would require potentially some degree of expansion of the existing footprint of the building, which then implies it's quite structural works. It's my interpretation of what you had then said, Councillor Lane, is would be to leave those toilets as is inside that building and bring on a demountable onto the side. Is that what you were saying?
Do you want me to respond? Councillor Lane, with the building, it's building 1. Building 2 is the clubhouse for the Raiders. So building 1 has the restaurant, it has the bar, it's where the community goes to have events and stuff like that. So the building itself is actually over 40 years old. So you can't actually put a modular, and I totally get the modular toilets because I'm looking at it for a different park at the moment for something else, but you can't put the modular toilets in underneath this building. Like you have to, it's a retrofit for the toilets to get in there so the disabled can actually go in there, and that sort of thing.
Okay, we'll go to Mayor Powers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with Councillor Lane. I think we need to examine our contractors. I think that they're taking us on. I think they got that much work. They're just putting in ridiculous quotes. The other situation here is that we seem to be packaging very expensive options. I was looking for the common sense option and going through each issue here in regards to trip hazards. They've got to be fixed. You can't leave. You've got a report here, and you've got trip hazards on the photos here of page 77. That's not an option. you can't have insurance issues like that. I would have thought that you package this with what you would consider to be priority fixes, and that would be obviously a combination of some of those quotes that you put in, not package this, package that. Take the whole building down, just replace the roof, or so. I'm suggesting that, like Councillor Lane, it's a bit hard to swallow some of these prices when you can build a house for that much, and it's just a toilet block. Surely someone's taking us on. I would like to maybe consider going and forgetting these panels of preferred suppliers or contractors. Go outside and actually see what we can do, because I find some of these prices a bit extreme. I know building costs have gone up. I'm experiencing it myself in my house construction, but you know, if this actually went out to the general public and they saw what we were quoting for, whether it passed a pub test or not, I don't think it would. But I think we need to obviously address safety issues and major construction faults, issues that are obviously minor, may be overlooked, but I would consider that the money we invest here is also a question of, if we invest this amount of money, how long will the life of the building be? That's the sort of question I want to raise. And so all those, I'll give it to you, Ben, to ask. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So as part of the report from last year, a structural assessment was done, and it was deemed that this building structurally has a remaining life of about 40 more years. So any works would be, you would get a return on investment on those. In regards to the estimates provided in here, is undertaken by a quantity surveyor, not a contractor. So we haven't got quotes on these works at all at this point in time. That would be market tested whenever we go through with multiple quotes in accordance with Council's policy and the Local Government Act. In regards to all items in the Access Consultant audit, option 4 identifies works for only the toilets. So if you're looking at the cost or an estimate from the quantity surveyor to undertake the works that are not related to the amenities, then that would be the difference between option 2 and option 4, which approximately be about $500,000. Again, the reason why the cost attached to these works is you're talking about major structural changes to a building. Yes, there are some quick wins identified in the Access Consultant audit that are orange in colour, but I think items where there's 133 mil step, I think it was, between two areas, that's a complete floor change. How are you going to ramp that down? That would be a considerable amount of works. And again, I would indicate that, implore upon you, around the toilets, yes, there's quite a disparity between what is there right now versus what would be required to meet the current day standards. But we're talking about upgrading from two female toilets, one male toilet, one urinal, to 4 male toilets, 9 female water closets, and a PWD toilet as well. So it's a significant GFA upgrade, if you will, which will have an impact on the building. And that's why when you start talking about, it's not just painting walls, you're changing the shape, form and footing of the building. So therefore there will be significant cost attached to that. And that's why that's probably led those estimates in that way. Same as where you're trying to correct out a step change in a floor, there would be significant costs to change that as well. Albeit absolutely needed, 100%. And that's, hopefully that information helps with this discussion.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you. So the toilets don't cost 780,000. The roof is in there as 406,000. So when people are saying a toilet 706, it's got here roof replacement 406, item 4. Yeah, but that's what the total cost when taking insurance off it. But if you look at option 4, it says roof replacement 406. and then your bottom line goes down. You just got to read it. So there's, and I'll finish. So you got that. Then you've also got, it's not a, people saying that it's, what are you laughing at? Is there something funny? And the fact is, it's not a toilet that's used once or twice a week. This is the sports club's toilets that's used every day. So it's not for the sporting club where the footy kids run in there and use it. It's not even my division. But the fact is, this is used every single day by punters. And the people that ring me about it, Mun Rubin is 70 years old and put multiple complaints in for the last 2 or 3 years about it. The fact of other buildings not being up to code, the difference is we're working on this one. So while you're there, it's better to work on it. Modular ones don't work. You can't slot a modular unit into an existing building. It's impossible to do it. So there's multiple reasons why this is different to the thing. I think that through the chair, if the councillor could talk, it's her division. For all I know how much money and I'm the same, I think she should put lip into it. The councillor will, but that's up to her. I think we should at least ask her if the money's the issue, which I guess it would be, because it is out of budget, then if she could talk and say, okay, I'll put X amount of money into the thing. But to me, we're working on the building, and you've got something that's not code accessible, that has multiple complaints about it. I just think it'd be crazy from building terms not to fix it while we're sitting there at the same time. That was my point.
Thank you, Councillor Banner. And just to, so in the option 4 estimate, yes, we've identified that the cost to replace the roof works is $406,000.
Okay.
That is correct. But we've also put a negative number of $356,000 in that estimate because that would be the reimbursement for the insurance. So we have included in that $780,000 an estimate a $50,000 cost for our excess under our insurance policy. And in line 2 of option 4, we've identified that roughly the upgrades to address the amenities would be about $500,000. Yes, there is contingency and other fees included there, so that we are, in our current market, we are seeing escalation, so this is an estimate. And if we were to proceed with any works, we would obviously go and get multiple quotes.
So you're thinking around 500 for the toilet, yeah, not 700.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ben. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions because we do all have buildings like this in and around the city, which we need to upgrade, and Councillor Bannon and Mr. Mayor have been saying that forever. How many clubs actually work out of this facility and the number of people? Is there a master plan? And if we do decide to go to option 4, which I totally agree with, we need to fix them up as we're going. A service enhancement is required, or can we do that today so that you can get on with it?
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. I might have to come back to you with just checking in on the number of questions, but my understand in regards to the way the site works, so the Middle Green Sports Clubs lease the building, if you will, so, and to Councillor Bannon's prior point, yes, it's more than just a sports clubhouse. There is a restaurant and there are gaming machines closed, so it is quite a highly visited site. Now, other parts of the site, the Greenbank Raiders, I think, Sports Club, operate out of there as a sublease to the Middle Green Sports Club lease as the head lessee. I'm not aware of how many people work there particularly, but we potentially could find that out and come back to you on that. What was the other question? Sorry, Councillor Murphy.
It wasn't work. I was like, how many of our residents are using this facility? Like, is it 1,000 a week? Is it? Would we have any numbers of those sort of people that are going through this facility at all?
Indicatively, it could be potentially 1,000 people a week that roll through those doors.
So this asset is vitally important to our community that is out there. It's not like it's just a small building that only 4 or 5 or even up to 20 people have a meeting once a week. That is constantly being used. So I'm in support of option 4 as well. How we get those funds to you, whether we can do it today or whether we have to come back for a services enhancement. Thank you.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Chair. So as Councillor Murphy said, I can think of plenty of sports clubs in Division 3 who are also older and have facilities which have no longer code accessible toilet blocks. So I'm trying to work out what the difference is between this example and all of those examples across the city. It was raised just before, and obviously is in the report, that this club has the benefit of poker machine revenue. So I'd like to just ask, has the sports club, and I'd mention that that's something that not many sports clubs do have the benefit of that revenue. Has the club offered any funding towards the toilet upgrade that comes from that significant additional funding that they have access to that other clubs do not?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Russell. I'm not aware of the club proposing, and Councillor Wilcox would probably be better to answer that question than I, but I'm not aware of the club offering up any funds at this time for those improvements. Under the current lease, the lessee is responsible for the general upkeep and maintenance of the facility. Typically, if we were to undertake any renewal works, sort of programmed renewals, then yes, we would undertake appropriate works thereafter. Again, the difference between this facility and a lot of other facilities, and probably goes back to Councillor Bradley's question, it really is the timing of the build. So depending on the year that the building was built, it will have been built to that standard at that time. So our buildings are legislatively compliant because under the legislation, we're not required to upgrade the facilities every time the standards change. So we are legislatively compliant, although we do acknowledge in this building and many other buildings across our city, the amenity offerings won't meet current day standards, but on an asset that has a life cycle of 80 years, it's not feasible for council to maintain all of its buildings to meet current day standards across 80 years all the time. So this is typically what we would find ourselves in throughout the life cycle of such a long-term asset.
Thank you. So what I can ascertain from your response and also from what I've read in the report is that this is no unique situation. This is occurring across the city all of the time, and the only difference that I can see here is that this club has actually got significantly more access to finances that they could be maintaining this themselves.
Slacks Creek has poker machines before, and we agreed to upgrade their facility.
They don't anymore.
No, they got rid of them.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, could you push your button so that what you're saying is captured?
Sorry, I was just going to say Slacks Creek had poker machines when we decided to upgrade their facility. That was not taken into account. I still had poker machines when we made that decision. They decided to relinquish the poker machines later.
Thank you, Mayor. I was referring to the current council and current facilities now, but thank you. Sorry, I've lost my track of thought. I might come back. Thank you.
I'd say, look, none of the clubs that I have poker machines or the benefit of a restaurant. And I'll say personally, what inspired me to push so hard to get the Water for Demons upgraded was actually visiting this club. When I went in there, I saw, the restaurant, I saw the big screen TV they had under the patio area, and I was like, wow, this place is really up to spec. This place is beyond anything I have in my division. There must be a lot of money coming in through here to have such grandiose things. So it almost, for me, seems like you've got a simple request to get this insurance work done, which would be the cost to council and the ratepayers, $50K, and then all of a sudden we've got this toilet block upgrade tacked on to it, and the only difference between this and every other club that needs an upgrade is that this item right here is in front of us right now, head and centre. If we had every single club that needed a toilet upgrade in front of us, would have a list a mile long, and you guys would be making a very different decision today. We have Councillor Heremiah next.
Point of order.
We've got to start somewhere.
Councillor Heremiah.
And then,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, when I look at these options, I see a warranted upgrade, but I'm concerned about the process associated with it. I support the idea of the toilets being upgraded to spec, But if we went across our city, there is a long list of venues and facilities that need upgrades as well. Now, I believe that an appropriate way to handle this would be to have a program where there's an amount of money allocated from the city's budget, and that can be matched with LIP funding to bring your different buildings up to spec. Now, does that program exist right now?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Heremiah. We currently have a renewals budget. Now, the renewals budget per year is $2 million for $500 million worth of assets. So that renewals budget is focused towards major component renewals like roofs, significant structural changes or kitchens, if you will. Potentially it can include toilets, but at $2 million a year, yeah, the cost of renewals is pretty expensive, so it doesn't go that far. We are working on condition audits across all of our stock to try and come up with a prioritised program of all renewals. But yeah, that would be quite a long pipeline, and as we see from the current standard of our stock, that would be a significant amount of time to wait before that would come, would be financially available to be undertaken.
Thanks for that. So I think the solution to this problem isn't taking an ad hoc approach to every single club and getting a site audit come to committee for every single club and us deciding on the finances for every single club. I think a better approach would be to establish a new accessibility fund in the budget where you can, where council can match LIP funds with the accessibility fund. That means that we can get more of these upgrades done in an organised way and in a less divisive way too, with actually metrics and objective criteria behind it. So I want to see these toilets upgraded, but I just want to see it done in the right way where we don't set a precedent of all these reports coming back, taking up more time and more finances of council. So that's my opinion, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Bradley. Okay, Councillor Raven. Councillor Fraser then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I do agree with what Councillor Heremiah said for sure. As an alternative motion, are we able to say that we can, for future budget considerations, try and do a program that does upgrade these things in an orderly fashion, as in a statement of intent? Because, yeah, this is very worthy to have their toilets upgraded, but there's plenty of facilities around the city, unfortunately, that are also in the same boat, that are not before us right now. So I'd rather have it that we know what we're getting into, and yeah, there's something that we can look at in the budget, I suppose. Thank you.
Mayor Powers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I obviously want to see something happen here. The roof is a no-brainer. Insurance, $50,000, fix it. I think it'd be completely irresponsible if we were to ignore some of the dangerous issues addressed in the report, particularly if you look at the colouring here. I would suggest that we actually have something that addresses that. I wouldn't want to just see the roof replaced. Once you have addressed or have knowledge of issues that could cause harm, you've got to fix it. You don't have an option. So I'm sorry, fix it. So we need to get a quote for those things, and I think the officer's discretion on some of the other issues here, I'm not saying just like sign a blank cheque here, but I think the officers need to address some of these issues identified here because, one, they look terrible, broken tiles and stuff. And I know everyone's got change rooms and all sorts of problems, and I've been trying to get Springwood AFL Club addressed because they haven't got proper change rooms. But I've been to this club, I've seen it in action. Again, you know, we're judged by other cities, by visiting teams coming here and looking at the change rooms and looking at the facilities here. And I think we need a bit of discretion here to actually fix some of these issues. And I would like to see a further report to come back to address those issues. Otherwise, I think if someone trips over and breaks their arm, we'll be sued. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on some of those items, or many of the items identified in the Access Consultant audit, under the current lease framework is also the responsibility of the lessee. So it's not all findings are the obligation of council in that Access Consultant report.
Councillor Bannon.
The differences between, if you want to talk about Waterford Demons, Greenbank Raiders isn't this big cashed up club because they've got a poker machine. So if you want to talk about a sporting club, the sports club do all the maintenance on the grounds. So they mow it, line mark it, they do everything. The opposite to 90%, every other sporting club that everyone's talking about, it's the opposite to that. And I know because I'm the president of one, as in rugby league. So with my one, I have to mow it, I have to whippersnip it, I have to paint the lines, I spend all the money rehabbing the surface. Greenbank, the pokies pay for that. So the rugby league club, they just turn up, roll out their post pads and play football. That's the opposite to Jamumba Thunder. It's the opposite of every rugby league club that I have. Every single sporting club I have don't do that. They're the only ones that I know of in my whole division that do it this way. That's what I'm explaining. It's opposite to Waterford because I know the Waterford's committee. Okay, so I'm answering the Waterford one. Okay, it's a shame, and I apologise to you two that it's gone tit for tat because I didn't think this would happen. And it's not about what my division needs. It's not even my division. I could sit here all day and say my sporting club needs this, my sporting club needs that. The only difference that I said was that we're there working on it. The Divisional Council still hasn't had a chance to say if she's going to put some money into it. She might say, I don't even want you to do it, and I've wasted all my time, and I apologise, Nat. I should have spoke to you earlier. But the fact is we're working at this building, and like the Mayor's saying, we're working at it, so we should do something while we're there. They're not some big cashed-up club because they've got some poker machines. They function different to every sporting club that I have, or that I'm involved with. So that's the difference between it. And like I said, I apologise, boys. I didn't think it had turned into this. And like I said, we haven't spoken to the councillor yet. She mightn't even want the idea, and I've just wasted everyone's time for 15 minutes, which if someone else did that, I'd probably give them grief for doing it. So.
Thank you. Just to clarify, we touched on to Councillor Bannon's comments, which are good comments. In this arrangement at this site, we have a head lessee and a sub lessee arrangement, which is often different to a lot of our sporting clubs. Most of our sporting clubs are the head lessee with no sub lessee, and so they are responsible for the clubhouse and all the facilities. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in this arrangement, the Middle Grade Sports Club are the head lessee, so they're responsible for the club and the fields. The sub lessee being the Greenbank Raiders, therefore come in under terms decided by those two entities and operate those facilities without potentially the same obligations. So the Greenbank Raiders may not have the same obligations as a typical sports club as a head lessee because the Greenbank Raiders are a sub lessee.
Councillor Russell. Well, that's going to wrap up, so yeah. Did you want to speak, and then we'll let Natalie wrap up?
I'm sorry, it doesn't feel appropriate to speak. But this might be really relevant, and so I would like to speak, but I wouldn't like to speak now. Thanks.
If you'd like to speak, speak now, because I would like Councillor Wilcox to close the matter so that we can vote. So if you'd like to speak, please speak now.
Never mind then, Chair.
Councillor Wilcox, could you close us out?
Well, I'm hoping this will actually create more of a discussion, so I'm hoping it won't actually close it out. But anyway, the PWD, the toilets, there are no disabled toilets in Building 1. It's totally different to your normal sporting clubhouse. This is used every single day. Building 2 is a clubhouse that is used a couple of times a week. Building 1 is used every day. Building 2 houses the Raiders. That is their clubhouse. I'm already committing to them that I will lip fund some upgrades in that building because it's never been totally finished upstairs. So we're looking at doing some work to improve that building. The whole of Middle Green houses the Raiders. There's 2 dog clubs that use it. I have walking football that use it 3 mornings a week. touch, karate, there's craft group, there's seniors groups. Dave, give me a nod if I've missed anything. There's plenty that come. However, due to the fact that there's no disabled toilets, due to the fact what the building looks like, it gets limited revenue from people wanting to go there. It's a community facility, it's a facility for the city that doesn't look the best, it's not fully functional, so we do have limited people that come through. The ones that do use it are the ones that live really close by. They've been very loyal to the club, they've been very loyal to Middle Green. They're the ones that keep using it. It'd be great to be able to attract more people out there, and to be able to have, I can't take my mum there because if I take my mum out, she's in a wheelchair, and if I'm on my own, I literally can't get in the front door on my own and stuff like that. It'd be great to be able to present it to the whole of the community. And this isn't a new discussion item. This is something that I've raised since 2020 or even before then. We all went on an excursion, I showed you it, and it's not the bee's knees of a club when you go in there. Raiders itself don't get access to the funds from the pokey machines or anything like that. Middle Green, Councillor Bannon's right, Middle Green are the ones that do the upkeep on the fields and stuff like that. So the sports club and Middle Green, they're two totally different entities that operate out of there, but it has been on the priority. In 2021, there was a petition because there's no disabled toilets in there. That's why this has all come back at the same time, because it was raised back in 2020, back in last year, for it to come back all as a whole, to be discussed as a whole. So this isn't a new item to be raised. I can't fund that whole amount for the toilets, nor should a divisional councillor be asked to fund that whole amount for the toilets. I am happy to chip in lip to the toilets, and I am happy to chip in 200K into the toilets for option 4 so that we can get some toilets in there. And yes, I do think it's an obscene amount of toilets that have been identified, but I wasn't the one that did the report. I can't go against that. That's what's been identified, but I am happy to chip that in. The addition of the PWD toilets would literally pass the pub test. Community have been asking for it for quite some time. I think it would get quite a lot of use, and it would actually sustain the building for quite a lot longer, and that sort of thing. I do have one question for Ben and that, though, if they can clarify this for me. With the works to the roof, will the club or will Middle Green have to close? Because it's been nearly 3 years since that hailstorm hit and the roof still hasn't been fixed. Will the club have to close? Because they're now outside the insurance where it's 2 years where they could have claimed loss of revenue, loss of income. So they can't actually claim that. Could it be staged so there's no need, if we were to do the roof and the toilet, can they stage it so that they will not have to close?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wilcox. At this point in time, we're unsure whether it would have to be closed or not. We would aim to try and stage the works so that the business can remain operational. Now, whether we need to stage that in 2 or more stages to make that happen, we would have to get a better understanding from what would be the contractor that would end up doing the works, their safe work practices and assessment. But our endeavour would be to stage the works so that they can maintain operating in some capacity. I do acknowledge that even staging the works, they would add a level of disruption to everyday operations, but we would hope that they could continue to operate in some capacity.
Awesome, thank you. And generally the club is open 7 days a week. I think it's like 10 a.m. it opens till midnight. Is it? Yeah, 10 a.m. till midnight. Thanks. So it's different to your normal sporting club that's open 2-3 days a week for your kids to train and play and stuff like that. So thank you.
Okay, I did want Councillor Wilcox to round us off, but she wants to continue the debate. I have Councillor Bradley has just put her hand up, and then I'll have Councillor Raven.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm wondering if I can ask Councillor Wilcox about that petition, because it's not in the report. How many people signed that petition?
I think there was 58 that signed it. Yeah, I think it was like the very first electronic e-petition we actually ever did as council.
Has it been around for a long time?
the council e-petition has only just started since we've been elected.
I will clarify, they started many, many years ago. That version that you're referring to started this term, but they have been in existence for a long time.
Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was waiting to hear from the divisional councillor because I knew I would want to hear if she was contributing LIP or not and what the context of the request was. I totally understand what she's trying to achieve and why it's a good thing to do it. There are many facilities in... Oh, no, wait. There are no facilities in Division 5 that are like this. There's nothing. There is a project that I'm funding entirely out of LIP to replace a completely non-compliant building from scratch. That's entirely out of LIP. Not just a set of toilets, the whole thing. Because it's not in the community infrastructure program, so I can't get funding anywhere else. I agree with Councillor Jeremiah's suggestion that we should have something for disability compliance because it is relevant to the community. I agree with you, Councillor Wilcox, and Councillor Bennett. It is totally relevant to the community and it's different to normal renewals because it's not necessarily something that's structural or non-compliant legally, but it is something that the community feels is non-compliant, and so we should be responding to that. And then if we had like a bucket of money that you could co-contribute to, either from grant funding or from other sources, then that could get assessed through a budget process and it could be done in an orderly way instead of an opportunistic, hey, I'm doing some work, let's just do a bit extra while we're there anyway. If my suggestion, and it's too late now, obviously, we are where we are. If it's been an issue for a long time, and it sounds like it has been with the roof as well, then that's a great opportunity to put aside 150 grand worth of LIP out of each year, get to this point and say, hey, I'm 3/4 of the way there, just give me an extra 100 and I can make it, which is a different proposal to coming, and I know it's been on your radar for a long time and you have mentioned it before, but as far as what the committee's considered before, this is the first time we've seen it as what it costs and what will be involved, right? And 200 grand is great. I would probably encourage you to go halves rather, and I'd be more receptive to that. I would love for council to chip in half of my Marsden Park upgrade. That'd be amazing because then it'd be much easier to deliver. And because that entire building, which is the only community centre in the suburb of Marsden, which is a suburb that has nearly 9,000 residents in it, the only community centre is completely non-compliant, no kitchen, no nothing. It is derelict. And if for 350 to 400 grand, we replace that entirely, and then they have a toilet, and they have a kitchenette, and they have a place that's actually worth going to. Now, something you said which I didn't realise is you see it as an investment. So you see this as if the 750 grand with the contingency is an investment that'll let Middle Green be more attractive to visitors, which is a different proposal entirely to, hey, we're just here doing some work, let's do some more work because it's more efficient. If you believe it's an investment, I'd love to know from Middle Green how much extra customership they think they would get from being completely PWD compliant. Because and I'm sure it is an issue because I know I get people ask me about our community facilities all the time, can I get a wheelchair in there? And when we say no, they go, oh, okay, I'm going somewhere else. So I know that it's an issue, but it would be great to understand from the business, like how much more will they get? And that means they've got more capacity to fund the operations at the site and the Raiders operations as their sub-lessee, which means that there'll be less burden on council over time. So it's not just council putting in money for the sake of it, it's council putting in money so we have to pay less later, which is a return on investment, which is a completely different proposal to my community centre idea, which is, hey, we just need a better facility because this is completely non-compliant, but we'll never really get a return on that, right? That'll just be council putting money into the community so they've got better facilities. So I guess, and I know someone from Middle Green is sitting behind me right now, Dave, but and I'm sure he can't just answer off the top of his head, but if we could find out between now and council, that would be great, because that would change my position. If I knew that it would mean long-term sustainability because they get more income, and that means they'll come to council less often for upgrades like this because they've got more revenue, then that's a different proposal to just saying, hey, we want to upgrade this because it's the right thing to do, because the right thing to do exists all over the city. And we haven't done any assessment of which one is best and which one is most needy and which one needs to go first. Does that make sense?
I'm going to have to say I'm pretty much in the same boat as Councillor Raven and Councillor Jeremiah. I believe this is a battle which is just part of a greater war, which is accessibility for all our clubs, all our facilities in council. I feel like we're focusing too much on one battle. We should be looking at the overall war, all the clubs' accessibility issues, because that impacts the whole of the city, not just one division, not just one area. But I do believe Natalie's doing Councillor Wilcox is doing an amazing job advocating for our area on this issue and is really putting it front and forward. I've got Mayor Powell chomping at the bit right now.
Thank you. Look, I'm a little bit offended by what Councillor Raven said. Access is not about, it's about providing the service, full stop. We have to treat these people with respect, and we need to put these facilities in place, and we should do it as quick as we possibly can. We're here for the roof, okay? We're there. We are here because we've got an insurance claim and we're going to be there. We've identified the issues, tick, 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 tick. We can go into a Dutch auction, and that's what it sounds like, which club gets what. But I've been out to this club. It has a lot of people go through it. If you quantified what needs to have wheelchair access on numbers, this club would probably win it. So I want to start the process by suggesting that we go to option 4. I'm going to move option 4. If it doesn't get up, fine. But I think we're there. We'll fix the issues. This is a major club. This has got a lot of people going through it. It's not just the sporting club, it's a community club. You've got so many people utilising it. It's our facility. We've got an onus to fix it. I think, you know, if you're lucky enough your sporting club comes up here, because we've got other work attached to it, we'll probably treat it the same respect. But I don't think we should get into a Dutch auction of what my club's, you know, more urgent need. We're there. We're already here. So let's fix it and let's move on and get to the next club and the next club and the next club. I want to fix all the clubs up. And that's why setting the scene workshop is probably the most important workshop you're going to go to in the 4 years. So I just want to quantify that. So I'm going to move that we put in option 4 as the way we address this issue, and we respect all clubs the same. Yep.
All right. Through the powers of being the chair, I'd like to move option 1 first. I want to test it to see if it gets up. If it doesn't get up, well, then we'll start looking at other options. So I'd like to move option 1, which is repairing the roof, and that being the focus of this report. So I'll move that. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Russell has second. Can I see a show of hands? That has been lost.
I'll propose option 4.
The Mayor is proposing option 4. Can I see a seconder? We'll just get the recommendation. Sorry? We'll just get the recommendation up on the board.
The lip as well.
So you're proposing to change option 4 to include LIP? Is
with agreement from the local council.
Okay, so we're going to amend option 4 to include LIP.
I said I'd chip in 200K.
Cue the elevator music while the team works hard to bring this new motion up. Do, 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 do. It's about as much as you'll get. I could do Footloose. It's the only song I know. Top Gun. I could do Top Gun.
While they work on your new recommendation, do you just want to go through and do the division on who voted for what on that first motion? Because you've got to do it for the record.
All right. For the, can I just see a show of hands who voted for option 1? So that was myself. Councillor Russell, how did you vote? Oh, sorry, Mayor Powers, how did you vote? Against? Councillor Bradley, how did you vote? For?
For.
For.
Abstain because I don't have enough information to make my decision.
Councillor Fraser?
For.
For.
Against.
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 Councillor Lane, how did you vote? And I was for. Okay, councillors, we have an amended motion on the board. I'll read it out. 1, that council endorses the replacement of the Middle Green Sports Club building the roof under council's insurance policy and upgrades to improve accessibility of amenities to the existing building. And 2, that the finance manager be requested to include the outcomes of this report in the future budget register for consideration and identification of an available funding source for design and construction of the Middle Green building partial upgrade with 200k Division 11 LIP contributed. Can I see a mover? Oh.
I've got a
Councillor
question.
Fraser.
Do you need to say financial year 23-24 WIP money, or do we need to say something else?
That's adding it to next year's budget register, isn't it? That's not adding it to now.
The mayor wanted it funded with the
Yeah.
200 grand now.
So, meetings team, the mayor has requested that this be this budget round. Is there a way that we can identify that it's this budget? Councillor Fraser.
Well, we're going to add in another point that says that that we can consider a future budget service enhancement for a program for the whole city as well. A prioritised list or whatever. So, or do we just...
I don't think we should be just tacking on to this. Let's just keep this report about this club entirely, and let's raise something else. If we want, we'll do a general business item to raise something new down the line.
But what I can say is that this will be a topic of the setting the scene, So just park this, because I think we just address this particular issue, and then setting the scene will address further issues. And I know there are councillors here who need, obviously, a little bit of help or a lot of help with their sporting clubs as well.
Through the chair, Ben, do you just want to talk to the intent of that recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Director. So item 2 on there identifies consideration, identification and available funding source. It identifies a year. My understanding, and subject to any further commentary from the finance manager, we would identify funding and run it through a budget amendment process or the next budget amendment process. That's why a year hasn't been identified. Whilst it's a bit open to interpretation, we'd be looking to identify it as a budget amendment, which then would be adopted by council. The other part to the proposed item 2 there is we don't necessarily need to include the 200,000 Division LIP contribution in that, because we would bring up a LIP form to the next council meeting for endorsement by council as well. So that would be through a different process. Yes. Great. And item 2 identifies how we would fund those works, which we would go find funding and run that through a budget amendment to identify the work so we could do that this year. What I'm proposing though is the approval of the LIP funding comes through a different process, through a LIP form, so we don't necessarily need to double up and identify that in here. It's understood that Councillor Wilcox is prepared to put $200,000 of LIP. We would go away and provide that LIP form to the next council committee meeting. Yes, once we've identified the funding through the next budget amendment.
And we do have obviously access to some one-off money, which we need to obviously consider. But I think we need to avail ourselves to a lot of things have happened since we've put the budget together, and obviously setting the scene will address those issues. And I think we need to recalculate everything, but I'm quite confident that we can address this issue.
Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just echoing the Mayor's sentiment that and Ben's advice that the only way to add money from one-off is through Governance Committee, because the Governance and Finance Committee for a reason. You can't just willy-nilly chuck money at things from other committees. So good way to do it. And also just when that does come to either through a LIP process for us to consider, it would be good if special consideration was given to Middle Green, because I feel they'd be able to deliver it cheaper than government will be, because we will get the governments done that Councillor Benham was talking about, and that could lower the cost of the project. And I also want to thank, we've got Dave here from Middle Green. I was just asking him what's the age demographic of his membership, and will this make a huge difference? He said, yes, they've got a large number of members who are older, which means they have mobility challenges, which this would be used more often in their facility than in a typical club because of that older demographic that they've got. So that's the information I needed to make my decision. I just wanted to understand the context of the club's needs and how this investment will improve the financial position of the club, and so they'll have less reliance on us moving forward, which is what I was seeking information around. Thank you.
Councillors, we have an amendment on the board. Should I read it out? Has it changed from its further instance? No? Okay. So Mayor Powers has moved this amendment, and I believe Councillor Wilcox has seconded. Can I have a show of hands in support of this motion? Councillor Lane? Yep. That has been carried unanimously. Okay, councillors, moving along. Does any councillors have any general business for the manager? Councillor Lane. Sorry, we just have a question from the meetings team for Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven, how did you vote on the last vote?
In favour.
For. Okay. Ben, are you prepared to answer that question from Councillor Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Lane. Yes, happy to bring back reports on both. What I also took from today's deliberations is potentially I'm to bring back a service enhancement for what this potentially looks like going forwards. Is that something Council wants me to bring back? And if so, potentially I would include these reports. I could include these items as part of a report and a service enhancement for Council's consideration, or I can treat this separately. Yes, I can bring back a report on both and bring back the service enhancement separately. I suspect I do. Through the chair, do I need a motion for that?
We're just getting it up now. That's right. So,
We're just waiting for the thing to be drafted up.
Yeah,
Teresa.
sorry, Councillor Lane. We're just waiting for the team to put it up on the board. Okay, so we've got our first general business item that a report be presented to a future meeting of the City Lifestyle Committee regarding the future of the building for the Logan Centre for the ageing in Logan Central. Are you satisfied with that, Councillor Lane? Councillor Heremiah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at the Logan City Council Local Government and Committee Meeting Code, item 5.3, which mentions attendance. It states that as a general principle, other than exceptional circumstances, councillors must attend meetings in person by attending at the place the meeting is held, unless there's exceptional circumstances, such as a disaster, the councillor is attending an official council business, or in the case of special meetings if they can't make it on time. I wanted to ask if it's appropriate for Councillor Lane to be attending this meeting in video link due to her circumstances. I'm curious if that's an exceptional circumstance, the reason why she's not attending in person. I'm concerned about whether or not the meeting code is being followed regarding this audio-visual link.
Point of order.
Point of order.
I just want to address that because I do know that Councillor Lane isn't attending the national conference for the ALP, and I do know that she is, as part of her job, she is talking to representatives on behalf of Logan City Council, and I'm thinking that that would be of utmost importance that she talks to those ministers on our behalf, and I think that what she is doing is acceptable.
Councillor. Councillor Heremiah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's worthwhile investigating whether or not the meeting code is being followed. I don't believe that the Labor Party National Conference is appropriate to miss committee in person and attend over a visual link. I don't believe that the meeting code is 100% being checked out right now, and it's worth investigating.
Okay, councillors, I'm just going to put an end to this now. I'm just saying I'm going to allow Councillor Lane to attend the meeting via Teams and to be able to put her general business forward under the circumstances. Okay, with understanding. I acknowledge Councillor Heremiah's concern, and I believe in better times we could probably more accurately suit that. But I think I'm going to make an exemption to the circumstances right now, so that we can just move forward today and get on to the next item available. So I'm going to read out the general business item that Councillor Lane has put forward. that a report be presented to a future meeting of the City Lifestyle Committee regarding the cost of making the building of the Logan Area Committee of the Ageing compliant with all legislative requirements.
Councillor Hall, my apologies, Mr Chair, could I just propose a slight amendment to the last few words? Instead of saying all legislative requirements, can I suggest we change it with current accessibility standards? Please.
The manager has put forward a suggested change to the wording. I'll read it out soon to you, Councillor Lane. Okay, so this is the general business proposal, that a report be presented to a future meeting of the City Lifestyle Committee regarding the cost of making the building of the Logan Area Committee of the Ageing compliant with current accessibility standards. So, Mayor Powers would like to move that. Councillor Lane, would you like to second? Do we need? Councillor Lane would like to second. Can I have a show of hands in support? That has been carried. We'll go through. We'll go through the councillors, see how they voted. How did you vote? For? How did you vote?
I voted for, but I'm going to foreshadow that I asked for all council buildings, asked for a report about all, have the same for all in the city. Thank you.
Councillor Russell, how did you vote?
Abstain, no reason.
Councillor Raven?
For.
Councillor Fraser?
Against, because it should be happening citywide.
Councillor Harrimeyer?
Abstain.
Councillor Bannon?
Against the same reasons as Councillor Fraser.
Councillor Stamp?
For.
Councillor Wilcox?
I am for, but I agree. I think this should be citywide.
Councillor Murphy?
Same again, I get for, and it should also be citywide, which we intend to do.
Councillors, that is not what you are voting for. What you are voting for is what was on the board. If you want to vote for something different, can you tell me so I can have the meeting team upgrade it? Don't change it after your vote. You've all voted for it.
Mr Chair, you accept the vote and move on.
Okay, we're going to accept the votes. I'm going to abstain, and that has been carried. Do any other councillors have any general business for the manager?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Can I ask for a report similar to that, but include City of Logan?
Mr O'Brien, how many man hours would that take for you to be able to put that together?
Thank you, Mr Chair. At this time, with the information available, it would be unknown. Suffice to say, lots. My proposal would be to that request and to the discussions today that we would bring back a report in due course once we understand the cost and time to go and gather the information. That would inform a future potential pipeline of works, what that means for council, as a prelude to a potential service enhancement. So I would imagine this would require a considerable amount of work. So I'll bring back a report that outlines the work entailed in getting that information and then the options thereafter.
Happy with that.
Consideration.
So with it would have an unknown time frame at this point in time as to how long it would take. I'm not very comfortable with that. Councillor Bradley, would you like to move that?
Yes, please.
Yep.
There's no time frame that is in. Yeah.
All right, we're just prepping.
Yeah, sorry.
We're just going to prep the motion. Mr. O'Brien, would you like to speak?
So yeah, I was just saying, we can bring back a report that will advise council the cost and time to do the work that's being requested. So we can bring back a report that will identify the scope of an accessibility audit of facilities across the city.
So my understanding is you're going to do a piece of work that's going to do for the entire city what we're already doing, what we're already going to do for Councillor Lane. All right. Councillors, we have a general business item that has been motioned by Councillor Bradley. I'll read it out. That a report be prepared to a future City Lifestyle Committee meeting outlining the scope of an accessibility audit of facilities across the city. Can I see a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Raven. Can I have a show of hands? That has been carried unanimously. Do any other councillors have a general business item that they would like to put towards the manager? Okay, so Councillor Jeremiah has a general business item that he would like to put forward to the director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today I'm raising a general business motion to investigate how we introduce a community idea that's for the community and comes from the community. It's about reducing the cost of pool fees to $2 for the summer. Right now the entry fee for some of our pools is around $5.50, and it's been expressed to me that this is quite expensive for families. So last night at the Division 8 community meeting, I asked people and residents to voice their opinion, and 94% of respondents supported the policy of reducing the pool entry fees to $2 for the summer. And some of the feedback I received is that this will be good for families, this will be good for getting kids out, active and enjoying some of our public facilities. So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move the motion that we investigate the cost, the feasibility and the process with introducing a $2 entry fee for our council-operated pools for this summer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just had a hand go up. Councillor Fraser, you put your hand up during...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for the director. So how many council-run pools are there actually, and where are they located, just so that we know?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Fraser. We have 6 pools, of which 4 are run by council. You're probably testing me to know exactly where they all are, unfortunately. But we have four council run and 2 leased out at present.
Councillor Raven.
Thank you. If this general business motion gets up, can we make sure we have the numbers on customerage for the pools? So how many people will receive the benefit as a portion of the total population of the city? That'd be great. Thank you.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please, if we could add to the report the cost to the city on how much this would cost for that summer period and where we're going to get the funds from. Thank you.
Councillor Murphy, Mr. Brad White can actually give an indicative cost right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, we're estimating about $200,000 to $250,000 would be impacted revenue.
And would that come out of your particular budget, or would this go to a service enhancement?
It wouldn't be a service enhancement because it's part of this financial year, so we'd have to deal with it through a budget amendment. We'd also have to amend our fees and charges schedule as well. And we'd also have to negotiate with the lessees because we don't have direct control over what they charge, so we'd have to enter an arrangement with them.
Is that included in the $200,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This sounds pretty simple, but I think it's going to get more complex because you do have people who have like memberships with some of these pools, so they've got 6 months membership. Like I probably wouldn't be too happy if people were getting into the pool for $2 where I've signed up for a membership that exceeds that amount, I'd probably cancel my membership. And that probably wouldn't be good for many of the pools to have a lot of memberships cancelled because of this. They survive on those memberships. I had Mayor Powers raise his hand.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I fully support this motion. As you know, I've spoken for this in previous times. I understand the complexities that the Chair is talking about the memberships, but I use the pool and at Springwood, and quite often I'm swimming in the pool by myself. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, we're not utilising the pools because we've put the price to a point where people can't afford to swim. I just put it in perspective. When I was a kid, we paid 5 cents to get into the pools. You could buy a sausage roll or a Sunny Boy for that price. So that's about probably $2 in this time and age. But can I just say that I believe that you shouldn't be looking at the monetary side of it. I think that it will actually get as much revenue anyway because it'll encourage more kids to use the pool. We spend so much money on these damn things. We want to encourage full use of those pools. So I'm going to support this till the cows come home. This was one of my election promises that you didn't let me get up in the first year. But I'll be pushing this because I want to see this because I think that will encourage more people to go down there and use our facilities. Thank you.
But Mayor Powers, this is Councillor Jeremiah's motion going forward if it gets off the ground. All right, so Councillor Raven, you wanted to respond directly to the Mayor's.
I just had a question for the Mayor to clarify. So there's a non-financial benefit that you think outweighs the cost? Microphone.
Sorry, there's a non-financial benefit by seeing actual kids use our facilities that we're paid lots of money for. But what I'm quantifying to say is that you're looking at the current use at the price that we've currently got. I'm expecting a lot more people to utilise the service at $2. It's an affordable way of spending an afternoon at the pool. You have a family of 3 kids, $5.50 each. It's too much.
Yeah. So I agree with you, but you're saying that there's benefits beyond the cost, basically, to the community. Yeah. No. Thank you.
Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Regarding the financial part of this future report when it comes back with more detail, Mr Director, is it possible to include projections regarding the increase in customer volumes because of the lower cost, because of the lower price, to understand if customer amounts go up 200%, it might actually cost less than the $200,000 initial projections due to that increased volume. Can we include some of those projections in the report, please?
Through the chair, yeah, look, we'll look into that as part of the report. What we can also do is, once the report comes back and if it goes through, we can certainly track the numbers through the Christmas period or the summer period and compare that to previous years. So if we can do the projections, we will, but we'll certainly track the results if it gets through.
Mr White, is it also possible that part of this we can look at perhaps compensating people who have memberships with these pools as well as part of this project so that it's fair and equitable for everyone who attends a pool?
Thank you for the question, Mr Chair. Look, yes, definitely we'll address that as part of the report. We're actually in conversations with Brisbane City Council at present to see how they're managing their proposals, so happy to try and put all of that in the report.
Councillor Wilcox?
Thanks. Absolutely, the community would support this. I raised this the week before we dropped budget, was shot down. Mayor and I have been raising this for 2 years to review the fees and charges on the pools being too expensive for the community. It still hasn't got legs in the budget cycles to be discussed. On the fly, we're discussing this. Ad hoc, we're discussing this. I think 200 to 250K is too low because I think the community would use it so widely. I think you need to put this into the budget discussions, into setting the scene, do it properly so that you actually get the correct figures. Brisbane City Council would not have just dropped this on a whim. They would have done it through their budget cycle. They would have done it through their budget discussions. They wouldn't have worked on the fly with 2 to 3 months notice. They would have done this throughout a year or 2 years. I don't think they have done it in the past. Yes, but Logan City Council haven't. We're working on the fly. This is ad hoc. It's an ad hoc approach to reducing fees and programs, and I have no doubt that this would be taken up. I'm a family of 4. I would drive past Hillcrest and I would go to Parkinson for $2 each rather than a $30 entry fee into Hillcrest. I have said that in the past. I don't think this is in the best interests of council for the residents, because we do not know the open-ended checkbook, how much it's going to cost the residents. We don't know what impact it will have. I really think 200 to 250K is low, because you have to think of the staffing impacts. Do we have enough staff? All the rest of it. I would prefer that this actually goes through to setting the scene, go through to the council, and we work on it for next year's budget rather than working on the fly and ad hoc.
Councillor Wilcox, do you have an issue with making decisions on the fly, or do you have an issue with this particular item?
Working on the fly and ad hoc.
So the decision we just made, okay. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. I'm a bit perplexed with that as well. We're asking for a report. The report will include the information that you are alluding to, Councillor Wilcox, so I'm happy to second it. Let's just get on, because otherwise we're going to be here till midnight.
Okay. Councillor Stamp.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess I'm just concerned that we're opening a can of worms here again. If we start reducing the cost of one facility, then what about all the other facilities? Aren't other groups going to come to us and say, well, why are you reducing pool fees when we should be reducing costs for other facilities? I'm just concerned we're opening a can of worms again, that's all.
I think the purpose of this is really to investigate whether this is feasible first. Is that correct, Councillor Jeremiah? Yeah, okay. So this is investigating whether this is worth going ahead, and then we can make the decision once a report is brought back. Councillor Jeremiah, I'll allow you to close us off with that.
Happy to move, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion on the, we have a general business item on the board that the Director of Community and Lifestyle be requested to present a report to an upcoming City Lifestyle Committee meeting outlining the costs, feasibility and process associated with introducing a $2 entrance fee for general admission to council-operated pools from the 1st of December 2023 to the 29th of February 2024. We've had a mover from Councillor Jeremiah. I believe we have a seconder from the Mayor. You'll third it and I'll forfeit and they'll fifth it. Okay, can I have a show of hands who is in support? It's just a report. It's not going to hurt. It's just a report, just a tiny little report. Okay. Okay, so we have that has been carried. Mayor Power, how did you vote? For? Councillor Bradley. Councillor Russell.
For.
Councillor Raven.
For, it's just a report. Happy to see the
Councillor
report.
Fraser.
For.
Councillor Jeremiah.
For.
Councillor Bannon. Councillor Stemp.
Against.
Councillor Wilcox.
Absolutely not. There's a cost for every report.
For.
And Councillor Lane. Abstain. Okay. And I am also for. That has been carried. Councillors, do we have any further general business for either the Director or the managers? Councillor Wilcox.
Mine's a good one. Sorry. I just need to pass on my thanks from a resident who lives in Greenbank close to Garragulba Road. She just wanted to pass on her sincere thanks to council for being on the ball with with fire and flood mitigation works in the immediate area. She hasn't seen any for quite some time, so she would really sincerely like to pass on the thanks to council and the contractors for the accumulation of creek sand that's built up over the culvert. They've removed it all and they've been working on the fire break, so she really would like to thank them.
Okay. Now, with no more, Councillor Raven?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, didn't you have GB for parks Tuesday? Remember you raised an issue in infrastructure that was actually for parks? The fire breaks. Yeah, I thought that was written in the report. There.
Yes, through the chair, I've got two GB items I'd like to bring in today, one with Michelle and one with Brent to answer that exact question.
Okay, could we bring Michelle to the? Yep. Right. Mr. Abri, run while you can. Okay. Okay, so Miss Griffin is about to speak.
Thank you, through the chair. I feel like mine will be very easy in comparison to what just happened. So I am taking the opportunity today just to talk to you about some good news stories. Two of them, one being Welcoming Cities, which you would have read in the council update on Friday, if you read that. Yeah, really great news for us. We've spent many months collating everything that the organisation's doing in the space of being a welcoming city. And we provided that information to the team. They've benchmarked us, and we're the first council in Queensland to be benchmarked against the Welcoming Cities framework. And advanced is a really fantastic level. So it's the third out of the fifth level, and that's our starting point. So the fifth level's mentoring. So you wouldn't really start there ever. So we're doing a really great job internally in the organisation and with our external partners. So I just wanted to bring it to the table to congratulate my team and all the rest of the organisation for the amazing work that we're doing in this space. We will bring a report back to council, but it won't be until October, because we'll go to ELT in September and then council in October, just to formalise what that report looks like, and we'll attach the background report, which will have all the detail about the great work that we're doing and some of the opportunities where we can do a bit better. So we'll bring that back later. The second one is Stories from the Kitchen. I just wanted to provide a really brief update. So we had Queensland Government funding for the last 18 months to run Stories from the Kitchen, which some of you attended over the last 18 months. We had 260 people attend those dinners over that period from 31 different cultural backgrounds, which is amazing. And we held 10 dinners, and there's a little outcome report which we'll provide copies if you would like some, just to give you information as to what the community thought and some of the really fantastic successes from that program. We've now been able to provide Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre with a grant to continue this program, a really great sustainability out of it, so we haven't had to stop it. Beenleigh are going to keep running it, and we've had lots of other community centres come to us to say that they would like to continue to run it as well. So we'll try and provide as much grant funding through our funds to now continue the program into the future. So we'll keep you updated with how that goes. Thank you. Any questions?
Do any of the councillors have any questions for Ms. Griffin? No? Okay, that's amazing to hear. It's always good to finish off on good news, and you guys have done amazing work. You're like Atlas, holding the world in your hands. So give yourselves a big pat on the back. You've done great work. Do any other councillors have any further general business that they would like to raise? We've got one more. Yep. Mr. Dowden.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and councillors. Thanks for the warm welcome. I've brought Craig Logan, who's the program leader for park operations and maintenance, and also Marissa to support me. Yeah, okay, so I'm flying. I'm off. Okay, so we're here this morning just to talk about our parks fire management activities that we've undertaken, and that was off the back of our mayor asking, what we've been doing. It's a fire season coming up, and just to explain where we're at. So that's the purpose of the presentation, which we've got up there. The first slide that we'll talk to is our planned burns. A lot of what we do in the fire management space is planned. There's a reactive component as well, but a lot of it is planned. And these are some of our guiding principles. And the reason I thought we'd talk about this is the key bit there is our strategy, the Bushfire Management and Strategic Plan of 2018, because a lot of our sites that get a category, a risk rating across the city actually come from that study. And that is also the basis of which all our planned burn operations, that's where it comes from, and that's the prioritisation matrix that we use. 2018, yeah. The one before that was a 2011 study, and we're actually working on, we do a new study every 5 to 7 years, so the next update on that we're currently working on, so it'll commence, they've started planning it already, but it'll be done in the next few months, yeah. So the things that we consider is the overall bushfire risk to the city, then we prioritise those burns in suburbs based on the risk priority, and then we've got bushfire hazard overlays which identify those sites, and then the team uses that information, and then we forecast where we're going to do the burns. So we can move to the next slide, which is just a summary of the kind of work that we do. We've got 360 sites made up of 160 kilometres of fire access lines, tracks and trails in and around bushland reserves having planned maintenance. We also undertake bushland maintenance using manual field reduction works. So we've got, topographically, there's a lot of different areas that we work with, and in some areas where there's steep inclines and you can't traverse the ground, we can do burning, but in other areas we'll do mechanical. So where it's really flat, like in those images there, we can actually physically get access. We'll use mechanical methods as well. And then we've got our planned burn program, which I'll talk to further down. And then our fuel hazard assessments and our bushfire response are key elements, which I'll talk to as well. There's been some changes in the way we do our fuel hazard assessments. And then another important part of how we achieve our work and what our work is based on is our liaison with our external stakeholders. So that's other agencies that manage the fires. We can move on to the next slide. So these are the planned fire management works that we undertake and have completed in 22-23. So when we talk about planned burns, there's a fair bit of work that we've got to do up front when it comes to getting our burn approvals through the fire management service. They've got to review and approve all those plans. So where we used to get stuck in the past is we would have fire management plans for a few sites, but they're very dependent on specific weather conditions. And what we found was we weren't able to get enough burns done if the wind was a different direction. So we were constrained. So one of the big changes that we implemented a couple of years ago was we've made many burn plans for many different sites, and then depending on when those weather windows occur, we can pull them off the shelf based on the prevailing wind, so that we've always got access to a number of different sites to burn, because those burn windows they're really constraining in terms of when we can get the opportunity. So we're trying to maximise when there's a window, we want to burn as much as we can. So that's in that planning burn operations, and because of those changes, we, in 2013, 2015, we're burning between 10 and 15 hectares a year, and over the last 3 years, we've done it between 50 and 100 hectares. So we've increased our capability in terms of being able to get through that work. The other improvement is the fuel fire assessment. So where we used to, in the past, we never used to be able to get out to a lot of our sites because we didn't have people to go out there and conduct all these fuel sites. We were actually relying a lot on when customers would ring up and complain about fuel loads in a particular area, and then we go and investigate, and as a result of that, we do some work. But in the last couple of years, we've got a resource, and that's all they do, is these fuel assessments. So based on that risk matrix that we talked about early on, out of that strategy, we've got people that go there the whole time. They use a traffic light system, so there's red, orange, and blue. The blue ones are the ones where we've done burns or they've very low fire risk, and then orange and red. So we'll cycle through that over about a 4-year period. And that officer does those risk assessments in those red and orange areas, and that informs the ones that we prioritise over the next 12 months. And as a result of those activities, just some stats there, 27 parks. We spent 559 hours in total doing hazard reduction work and burns and stuff in those parks. You can go to the next slide. I thought we'd put this in there because we have a very good and a strong collaborative arrangement with other agencies. And we get a lot of good information where we cross-checking not only with other councils, but these externals, and we work hand in glove with them. If we lacking resources to do a particular fire because we don't have enough people, or likewise the other agencies don't have people, we'll share our resources on our boundaries so that we can again maximise those burn windows and not lose those opportunities. So we've got the Queensland Fire and Biodiversity Committee. We attend those in July. You'll notice that a lot of the times, and I put those months in there because we're in fire season now, and a lot of when we get together and meet and have discussions about the upcoming fire season happens between now and September, and then the other window is in March. So we talk with QFES all the time. They help us when we're doing consultation in the community. Quite often the community's got queries about fire management in the park on the back of their fence line, and QFES have an I-Zone officer that's very experienced, comes out and collectively between the parks team and the QFES will do those consultation exercises. We also work with the Rural Fire Service, and we also work with QPWS, who have some big bushland parks on our boundaries. Again, sharing knowledge and also resources. If we can, so operations, says Banya, this has been another good change. Previously, we used to talk about Operation Coolburn, and essentially that was a set period when the fire service would approve burns to happen between April to July, and then sometimes they'd extend them into August, September, depending on what the weather is. Says Banya, which has come into effect now, is that we can do burns any time of the year, provided we've got a burn plan that's pre-approved. So it just gives us a lot more time to burn, because one of the issues we've got is when in that April to July window, everyone's burning at the same time. So it's very hard to share resources when we're all trying to do the same thing at the same time. So it says Banya just makes sense because there's other times of the year when we should be burning, and if we stagger it like that, we can help each other. So that's been a good change. And then onto our planned burn program. So last year we completed 9 burns with a total of 39 hectares. And you'll see we've still got 80 odd hectares left to go. So when you do the comparison there, your question naturally would be, well, how come so little? And this is that issue with the burn windows. To give you an insight, we were meant to do a burn this week, and it got cancelled the night before because it rained. So relative humidity really impacts, how effective the burn will be, so they get pulled. And so the reason why we haven't done as many this year has been largely because those burn windows just haven't aligned. Even this morning, we got an email last night from the Queensland Fire Service saying that all burns scheduled for this week and including the weekend are cancelled because of bad weather for burning. So it just shows how precarious it is when you get those burns to actually get the burn done. It's not a done thing until the morning when we look outside and they do their tests and they go, okay, we can burn, then we go and burn. Next slide. So these are just things we take into account: wind direction, wind velocity, burn time of day, and that's largely because of the fuel moisture and relative humidity in an area. Normally we wouldn't burn in the morning because it's damp, so we try and aim to burn sort of from 10 to midday and not too late in the afternoon, because normally that's when wind direction and velocity becomes a factor. So we've kind of got that window in the middle of the day, which is ideal. And then our fire permits, which I talked to before, they are very specific in terms of access, egress, emergency routes in and out. So we really have to stick to that. And those are the ones that the fire services approve in the lead up to the fire season. Next slide. Bushfire response. So in addition to our planned activities, we also do response where we're working with those agencies I mentioned before. And just looking back at last year, we responded to between 10 and 30 requests for assistance from the fire service. And we would do 5 of those responses on our own. And similarly, if we respond first, which we'll do on council land, if we need assistance from QFES, they will respond to assist. So again, hand in glove relationship there. And then that's probably the nuts and bolts of where we're at in terms of what we've done and what we're doing. This slide's just about the team. That's our council team with our crew leaders and trucks. One of the improvements that we are working on currently, because the more people you have, the more fire, of these burns you can do, we are looking at getting assistance from other branches. So where we train officers up, and they can be in any role, they do some fire training, we have equipment, so that we can draw on these people and maximise those burn windows. Ideally, at the moment, we're only doing one burn, so when there's a weather window, we can only do one burn at a time. We want to actually scale that up to be able to do at least 2, which just means, we need about 12 people to do a burn. So if we can get another 12, 24 on a day, it means we can pull those plans and actually have 2 lots of burns going on in parallel. So that's the goal, and that's something that we're working on over the next few months. The next slide is just our communications. I think you probably all would have seen the comms that we put out to everyone. There's been an update to that as well. We're adding to that our Queensland Emergency Alert System. So that's the system that the state government uses to send out alerts. They've got broader coverage with who they can send that out. We're working with the former disaster management program that are now called Corporate Resilience Program on that. So that's another improvement. The feedback we've got from the community is, it's been pretty good. They get SMSs, we send out emails the day before, and then also on the day to say, okay, it is actually going ahead, so we can manage that smoke impact on residents. So looking forward, I've talked about increasing our capability, so that's something we're working on. We're working on cross-tenure burning, which is working with those agencies on boundaries so we can, again, get more burns done. And then we're working with corporate resilience, as I said. So that's it in a nutshell.
Sounds amazing. We just have Mayor Powers.
Thank you, Mr Chair. As a councillor that's been here for a long time, I've actually seen bushfires in my electorate. They crossed over Kimberley Drive, Mindy, and they also crossed over in Stern Road in Carbrook. While I was present, a most horrifying situation. As a councillor, it's one of those experiences you don't want to have. The reason why I called for this report is I was aware that we were able to get more burns, but I wanted you to know that obviously everything that can be done is being done, because I'm aware that Brisbane are also doing similar situations, and I know the Mayor has put a priority on that for Brisbane. My question to the manager is there, given the climate change situation and the change of projections with drier conditions, is there any opportunity to enhance this program at this stage? Sorry? Yeah, well, we want to obviously see it as a request quite quickly, because I think we need to address this now. So if you would like to put up future reports addressing the situation and need for money, because I'd rather be better prepared than down the track we oversee a situation that we don't want to see.
Thank you. Through the chair, absolutely we can grow and we can do more, and it really does come down to the resourcing. So we're trying to lean on the changes in how, Sesbania, for example, so we've got bigger windows, but it really comes down to on the day, how many staff and equipment you've got to undertake those burns. So I think from a planning perspective, we have capability now to do more than one burn a day. We just don't have the resources. So absolutely, as we, going forward through the next budget, we can bring those up. We're actually just talking about things, this morning. They're all improvements. In the interim between now and then, we are going to reach out. I'm going to speak to some of the other managers of other operational branches so that we can get some training, because it's really people. Like if we can get the people, we can give them the equipment, we can get more done.
Okay, I might have a talk to the CEO. I think this is a priority, and given the other local government concerns, and particularly Brisbane. I think we need to act sooner than later, and I think we need to look at this to see if we can up the ante with more burns.
So, Mr. Mayor, you're talking about this term or you're talking about next term?
I'm really concerned about in the next 6 months. I personally believe, and the indications are, that we're going to have severe bushfires this season. And I'm thinking that even though we've done more burns than we've ever been able to do, I think we need to upgrade that facility, and I think we need to get more burns done between now and particularly Christmas.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the chair, I was impressed to hear that you plan on training staff so you can do 2 burns, which I think is an absolutely awesome idea. I'm sure there are a number of volunteers with the CFA within staff, I would imagine. Yeah? Yeah, okay. So is that what you plan on utilising in the first instance to increase your numbers of burns?
So when it comes to our capacity at the moment, we'll talk to other agencies. So QPWS is a big one. They've got a lot of fire trained staff ready.
Yep.
And they're actually going to help us on the one we were meant to do this week. So we can get those resources from other agencies. If we can get extra people trained internally, that'll help as well.
Yep.
Because on the day, it's people and it's equipment.
Yes.
So getting other trained staff, it's always a case of, you know, and that's why Sesbania is so good, is you have absenteeism, you have people that don't turn up. So there's always those kind of HR kind of issues that impact your number of staff.
Yes.
But our first port of call is to go out to other agencies to ask them for help. So in the interim, that is how we manage it.
So can I just ask another question, please? I'm just curious, how are you going to put out like an expression of interest to staff who are interested in doing this? They would be seconded just for the day from their normal job? Is that how?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But
okay.
what I was going to do, instead of going out, because I can do it anyway, like I could just go all staff and ask the whole organisation, but the issue is we need to get the equipment and we need to get the training done. So if too many people came forward, we wouldn't, you know, and there's a cost to it as well. So there's an absolute cost to get that training and the equipment. It's not, you know, it's not cheap. You know, because they get a helmet, they get a tunic, they get pants, they get boots. That's the base level of PPE. Plus then they've respirators that have to get fit tested every 12 months, so they customise to suit an individual's face. So it costs about, I think it's about $700 or $800 per person. So I didn't want to send it out to all and sundry and get so many people that are, you know, we can't train them up. But at the end of the day, it's a resource question. And if the money and, you know, that's there, then happy to go with either way.
Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So the RFS, are they one of the agencies that helps? Great, because ratepayers across the whole city are helping to fund them now, so it'd be great if we could utilise that resource. And then my other question is to the Mayor. Mr. Mayor, are you proposing that we do you put something to the budget amendment so that they've got the extra resources to do the extra training?
I'm thinking even outside that, whether or not we can employ contractors to actually do more burns than we would normally do outside what we're doing.
It does sound like Brendan's willing to get internal staff. He just needs the money to train them, which is probably cheaper.
Look, I'm not saying that's not a good idea. I'm saying that I'm looking at maybe employing contractors to do more burning, because I think we've now seeing a direct change, and we've seen what's happened overseas, particularly in Greece and such, that we need to take a lot more action than we previously have. I think that the build-up from all we've had overabundant rainfall over the last few years, and the growth has obviously got to a point now where it's now drying, and I'm thinking that we should remove a lot of that fuel, and any way possible, and that would be employing contractors. I think that if nothing happens, that's great, but if something does happen, that would be the best money invested.
I agree. Do you want to put a motion forward, though, to provide that extra funding, either for internal
I
training?
was
or
actually going to
contractors?
go through the local disaster management group and talk to the CEO about prescribing something in words, and I'll put it up in the full council meeting.
Great.
Okay, with no further questions, what we'll do first is table the PowerPoint. So I'd like to motion that the PowerPoint as presented to the councillors in relation to item 7.2 of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 17th of August 2023 be tabled. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wilcox, can I have a show of hands? Councillor Murphy? Councillor Murphy? That's been carried unanimously with the exception of Councillor Bannon, who's out at the moment. Now we have the Mayor raised a motion, and I'll put that motion up on the board. You don't want to raise a motion? No? Can you press your button so that it's
Thank
recorded?
you. As chair of the local disaster management group, what I'm going to do is talk to the CEO and Marita, and obviously get some wording, proper wording, and I will present it to full council.
All right. With that being the case, if we have no further questions, I believe we can actually conclude the City Lifestyle meeting. So that concludes the agenda for today. Does anyone have any more general business for the Director of Community and Lifestyle? No? There being none, I declare that the City Lifestyle meeting on the 17th of August 2023 be concluded at 11:07. We have the City Governance Committee up next.